Howdy, folks. Welcome to Retsutalk, episode 78. How long has it been since the last one? 5, 6 weeks, months?
I think 5, 6 weeks, yeah. We should do these more often. We have...
How often would you like to do them?
Weekly. But more realistically, every 3 months is fine.
Does it work better when people are expecting them on a certain date, then get disappointed when they don't meet those when we don't meet their expectations, or when we just, boom, mic drop, here is a hot podcast right in your lap?
Well, honestly, we're streaming this on Twitch, so if you ask in about 30 to 60 seconds, we'll find out. But, you know, I like the Twitch lag, can I tell you that?
Why is that?
Because if something happens, like I fuck something up, like I fuck up in a video game, or conversely, I do okay, I get to, like, kind of look and see the reaction coming, you know? It's like I'm in the know for, like, one brief moment.
Like you're doing so well, you see messages of hope and inspiration in your chat, but you've already died at that point.
Or like, yeah, or sometimes it is really satisfying to see that one guy like, ha, dead, and then it's like, ha, no! You're a jerk! I'm alive. Please watch my streams. No,
so, Slow Beef is in the midst of a hot grinding sesh, going through Nightmare University, I believe it's called Nightmare Lecture Hall, to get some blood vials, and we thought, why don't we double dip a bit?
Right.
And do homework for the Let's Play and a podcast at the same time.
For the record, I have homework for school also that is due tomorrow. It's like a final thing, and I am instead grinding blood
vials. And incidentally, it is doing this.
Yeah, it is totally.
But in real life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What do you want to talk
undergrads
about?
Turn into blobby messes. Well, what do we have? There's the recent Retsu revival of George Wood videos.
Oh, hey.
There's the Bloodborne Let Us Play.
Uh-huh.
Dark Souls 3 is on the horizon, believe it or not, in a few short months.
What?
Fallout 4 came out recently, and that's a pretty big deal. Demon Souls is a very old game that you're playing. ROM hacking. iOS?
Wait, I don't want to talk about iOS.
Now, how do we talk about all of that at the same time? Tie all those things together for me.
God, let's just wing it. Hurry, what was the first thing again? Did you mention American Horror Story? I'm sorry, wait, go ahead.
American Horror Story?
Yes, the show I love to hate.
Now, I've warned you about that show.
No, wait.
I gave it 2 seasons.
What?
Season 1, I thought started out really promising. I thought it was pretty cool. And then in the latter half, I thought it kind of fell apart.
You didn't warn me about that.
Season 2, I was like, okay, maybe they kind of learned from what didn't work well in Season 1. Then it had the guy from Maroon 5 in it for some reason, and then it was pretty bad. And then I did not give the other seasons a chance. But you're, like, sticking to it for reasons I don't entirely understand. It's like when you did the Lost Challenge in Binding of Isaac, you love to challenge yourself in really meaningless ways, and you watching this pretty bad show as another kind of challenge.
Season 3
of
is
sorts.
Season 3 is the only one I find challenging to watch, truthfully. Coven.
So the others are bad, but in a funny way that they're enjoyable to watch?
Hotel, the 5th season, the recent one, that is so funny in how bad it is.
Unintentionally funny.
Yeah. I'm going to contend 4, Freak Show, is not terrible. It's still bad. But it's actually very interesting. It's actually interesting drama. Like, it'd be almost like a weird soap opera, except it's not very scary, which for a show titled American Horror Story is kind of a deal breaker. Where do you want to start with this? So you said you watched what? Seasons 1 and 2?
I watched season 1 and 2.
Can we spoil
the people in a haunted house thing, and then season 2 was the...
I need to spoil season 1 to talk about how bad it is, and I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care.
Think people listening will care either.
I won't spoil. There's one good twist, I think, in it concerning No, I guess I can anyway. I have to, but it doesn't. I don't care because I hate it so much. So
Concerning the aliveness or deadness of certain people?
you got it. I thought that was an alright twist. My brother hated it for the record, but I thought that was okay.
Yeah. Well, your brother doesn't have his own podcast, so
No, yeah, exactly. So take that,
please.
whatever your name is.
I don't think people will care if you spoil anything. When did American Horror Story start?
Oh god, like
2000
5-6 years ago, 2010, I think.
They're on season 6 now? 5?
5.
5.
Yeah.
2010 9-ish.
All right. Okay.
Statute of limitations is up, basically.
Yeah. American Horror Story season 1 was retconned as Murder House is now the subtitle of it because they all have their own subtitles. And there's a lot to like. Part of the reason I watch it is because it is a perfect example of such wasted potential. Like, I've never seen writing sync such good music, such good art direction. And frankly, even the settings and some of the characters are interesting, you know, but the writing is just so bad on it. And it's a successful show, you know, so people like it, obviously. I'm in the minority, I guess, but, so
It's on FX, which gets to do all sorts of crazy weird shit with their shows.
Right. They say the S word. There's like a lot of almost nudity, and it is a fairly gory show for like cable TV. Where do we begin? One interesting thing they do season to season, it's a completely different story, even though they're tied together, which is stupid.
They have some similar actors, performers come and go.
Exactly. There's like, there's more or less a main cast, but they play different characters every season. So it's
right.
not, yeah. First of all, I'm just going to say one thing. Jessica Lange, she's not in the latest season, but she's like a regular. And,
doesn't she get sort of replaced by Lady Gaga?
Yeah,
Gaga.
She does. That's in the latest season. They replaced her with Lady Gaga. But before that,
a logical replacement.
No, one thing is with Jessica Lange, they'll sexualize her in like seasons, I'd say 2 and 4, especially. Yep. And my mother actually happens to look like Jessica Lange. Like, not exactly, but there's enough of a resemblance. Oh. I cannot watch that fucking show. It creeps me the fuck out whenever they sexualize her. God damn it.
Should I get a notebook and pad out and have you lie on a couch?
I would love you to.
Okay.
No. So, anyway, so season 1's called Murder House, right? It's about this couple with a daughter named the Harmons, and they move into a haunted house, right? And I'll say this, by the way, if you know nothing about American Horror Story, the very least you should do, this is like a 1-minute thing you can do on YouTube, is the intros to the show are almost all amazing. Like, they're like these little almost art film kind of things with a really bitchin' kind of soundtrack. They're disturbing as fuck, and they're all a little different enough. Hotel is probably the weakest, but... you know, that kind of shit. And season 1 starts out really good, actually. It's like a little odd.
I agree.
And a little off, but like, it's doing new things. There's all stories behind the house and stuff, and it like jumps around in time, even though it follows the main like frame story of things, you know? So you're like kind of interested to where it goes and things like that. So it's a haunted house. The rules of the haunted house, turns out, which is consistent across seasons, is if you die in a location, you haunt that location, you know?
And you cannot leave that location.
As long as your body is there, you cannot leave that location, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, a lot of the house's previous owners, because it's like haunted and fucked up, have died and are haunting the place. And I'm gonna spoil the ending now. So what happens is the family in season 1 dies, right? The mother, the father, and the daughter, and they end up haunting the house too. And they're haunting the house with the other ghosts then, like, all friendly and shit. Yeah,
they all just kind of hang out.
Even though they've done all horrible things to each other, yeah, they just kind of hang out then, and they're all cool with each other.
They learn to become friends and chill.
So the show literally became Beetlejuice at the end. If you think about it, it totally does.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and they have the final episode is a Christmas episode. And it's a really kind of disturbing fucking show, or tries to be. There's all gory, fucked up shit. There's like sex shit, and then they have like a fucking Christmas episode where the ghosts are decorating a tree and stuff. Like, what the fuck? And I hate it so much. Because it starts out so good and then it just goes to shit so quickly. And every season...
Is it that weird for a Christmas story to have ghosts? Have you ever heard of A Christmas Carol?
I have, and it was much scarier than American Horror Story, by the way.
I am the ghost of fetish past.
That's another thing. So every season they have their own Pyramid Head character. It's like an iconic stalker kind of demon thing that doesn't really talk. You don't really know much about him. Then they explain it because they don't understand that's like rule 1 of shit you don't do with good horror, you know? And they ruin it. And is
grounded in reality?
Yeah, kind of. Like, all right, season 1 they had Plastic Man. Do you remember Plastic Man?
Yeah.
He was the guy, all right, so it's this like latex like S&M kind of suit. You don't know who's in it. It's walking around. It's kind of in the background every so often. And it's like freaky and stuff, and it's a new show, and you're like, kind of like, what's going on with this shit? And I remember, because I was watching it when it was on TV, they had like a preview like, next week, find out the identity of Plastic Man. They don't call him Plastic Man, by the way, on the show, but, yeah. And I'm like, wait, I don't want to know his identity. Like, I didn't even think he was a character. And then the next week, he's walking, and he pulls off his mask, and... yeah, suddenly he is fucking one of the characters.
Kind of kills the whole vibe of it.
But and here's the thing. The character he's revealed to be, it could have been any of them. Like, it was just nothing. It's like, oh, it's Harry. Actually, why am I even spoiling it? Or like hiding it. It's Tate, the kid who the daughter's friends with. And you're like, wait, why would it be Tate? That doesn't even make sense. Like, he's not, I mean, I guess it's him. You know, the show's telling me it's him. But I don't really fucking care. And then it's like, you just took this really scary, mysterious character and you just made it kind of nothing. All right, can I go through the Pyramid Head characters and all of them, as I like to call them?
Please do.
Okay, so season 2 is Asylum. Completely new story. Takes place in a mental asylum in the 70s. Also has a frame story in modern times. And this time, the design is very good, but it's a serial killer kind of person named Bloody Face, who wears like the skin of it's a terrible name, I know. Wears like the skin of his victims on his face, right? And if you Google image search Bloody Face from American Horror, it's not a bad looking costume or anything, right? But it's just a killer. Now do you saw Asylum?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember at the beginning of it? So the season starts off with this couple, this kind of no-name couple, and they're sort of
Maroon 5 guy and girlfriend go to a that it has been since a torn down asylum to take pictures of it and do young people shit, and then guy sticks his arm in a door, and then there's a guy behind the door that they don't know was there, and then his arm gets ripped off. Yeah,
exactly. And it turns out the guy, and it's again a frame story that they revisit like every episode, even though the main episode is not about that. So every episode they advance that frame story a little bit. So it turns out the killer who's cutting off his arm is Bloody Face. Oh shit, you know. And Bloody Face is chasing him and the girl. And then the girl's about to escape, but somebody shoots her. And it turns out it's 2 teenagers who like Bloody Face and are just pretending to be Bloody Face.
That's right. Yeah, that was such a...
And in that same instance of this like going on, the real Bloody Face then comes out and stalks the teenagers pretending to be Bloody Face. But... in the meantime, or I should say, in the 70s, they talk about Bloody Face again, and you're like, wait a minute, how does Bloody Face in the 1975 and also in like 2011 for this? And it's like, how many fucking Bloody Faces do you have here?
It's a trend.
And it turns from like weird and mysterious kind of cool designed character into like, what are you doing? Like, how many of these Bloody Faces do you have? And the answer is like 7.
That's right.
Yeah, and somebody in chat saying also aliens, which
oh yeah,
Asylum was really all over the place. It's about what it sounds like, right? And but
they crammed a lot of ideas into that season that didn't work.
And one of them is an alien abduction. It's actually, I think, about how the main plot thread starts out, where this character's wife gets abducted by aliens, basically. And she's missing, and they kind of like, they can't pin a murder on him because there's no body or anything, but they obviously think he's crazy because alien abduction, you know? And, so yeah, but obviously it really happened to him, so they have aliens in it, but not like xenomorph H.R. Giger fucked up aliens, kind of like the big white head, sort of skinny alien, you know?
Mm-hmm. Your stereotype aliens.
It's the aliens you'd see on South Park. but a little scarier, just not wonderfully so. There's also lots of nuns and like in the asylum, and there's ghosts and exorcisms. It's like they kind of have a mishmash of a ton of horror things going on, and it again doesn't really work too well. So, all right, one interesting...
They try.
So one interesting kind of thing they did. The second episode, they have an exorcism. They have this kid brought into the asylum. And the biggest problem is whenever you do anything with an exorcism, you're going to be compared with this very famous horror movie that's generally considered like the best horror movie. I think it's Alien. No, but you know what I mean? Like, you can't help but do have like a movie about an exorcism or a TV without being compared to The Exorcist. Cannot happen. You know what I mean?
And this is where American Horror Story beats it.
And they try to hit the notes. The kid's thrashing and he's cursing and all that shit. But it's like, yeah, this was a lot better with, what's her face? Megan Fox? No, I'm kidding. Whatever, I can't think of the actress's name from, The Exorcist. You know, it's just not...
say Tate.
Tate. It's not nearly as good. You know what I mean? It's just there. Now, they do kind of an interesting thing with it where the demon escapes into one of the characters, this like kind of innocent nun, and she's possessed by the demon for like most of the rest of the season. And she's actually almost a comedy character after that. You know?
That's right.
Or like she's like, they watch some movie where the lions are eating the Christians and they go to her in the audience and she's just watching fascinated. Like, it's almost acceptable because it's really funny, but then, again, they just kind of go nowhere interesting with it, you know?
I feel like you're putting forth a great advertising campaign for people to watch this show, ironically.
Yeah, the problem is it is kind of boring in some parts and then outright just insulting in others, you know? I'll tell you what killed season 2 for me. The Anne Frank episode, which is a 2-parter.
Vaguely remember that, yeah.
What's the guy, not Donald Sutherland, James Cromwell. James Cromwell plays Dr. Arthur Arden in it, right? Who's like the head doctor at the asylum, and he's cruel and evil and all that stuff, you know? And they kind of hint that he might have been like a Nazi doctor, kind of like Mengele, but he escaped to the United States kind of thing, you know?
Right.
So when American Horror Story decides what they can do is they can have a woman come to the asylum who is claiming to be a Holocaust survivor. But, you know, since she's kind of crazy, and she accuses the doctor of being, you know, a Nazi doctor. But since she's like, people think she's crazy, they don't believe her, which is not a terrible idea, except the woman, she claims to be Anne Frank. Like, oh yeah, I wrote the diary in the attic, I survived Auschwitz, all that stuff. And you're like, this is really odd. Like, not in a good way, American Horror Story. Where are you going with this? And it's a 2-parter, and it's titled, like, Who is Anne Frank or something. And you're like, what the fuck? And someone in chat just something like, I had to pop into the tab and say Anne Frank episode, what the fuck? And yeah, no, it's totally like, because the problem is you, the viewer, right? You, the viewer, know that Arden is probably a Nazi doctor, even if the characters on the show don't, you know what I mean? Like you figure that, but you're not, but that also then makes you wonder, like, wait, so is this really Anne Frank? They wouldn't do that. That's, you know what I mean? But then again, the show is not extremely well written, so you're like, holy shit, maybe they would, you know?
I mean, they'll try anything, so.
Yeah. I will say the resolution is she's not Anne Frank, but he is a Nazi doctor. But, like, still, it's like, and again, it's a 2-parter, so you can't even say, like, it's a one-off episode or anything. It's kind of a big part of it.
Does it tie into the main story at all?
It's really just like, well, it sort of does because Jessica Lange is kind of the head nun, and she's sort of like, is evil the right word? No, she's not evil, but she's like, she's not a good guy per se, but so when she starts, basically this whole thing makes her start to suspect Arden, that he's not like just a regular doctor or something, that something is wrong, you know?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so then there was the name game thing, which I don't know what to make of.
That I don't remember.
That, so they do shock therapy and stuff like that. They do it on the main character, Lana, and stuff. At one point, Jessica Lange's character gets it too, and she's kind of sitting alone, and I think, like, she's gotten, like, brain damage from it or something. But they have a musical number where she starts singing the name game with all the patients in the asylum.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so there is that. I'm bringing up, keep in mind, high points of American Horror Story. There's a lot of, like, not high points, but, like, points where you go, this might be so bad it's good. There's really, I'd say, way more bad than good in it, you know? I'm getting off track a little. So then you have Coven, which is basically fucked Harry Potter, the TV show. It's like a witch's boarding school, you know? But it totally is. And, like, the kind of...
Do they play fucked Quidditch?
I guess they do.
Okay.
So the kind of monster character from this one is called the Minotaur, and they explain him in episode 1, and he's like takes place in New Orleans. He's like a slave that is it Marie Laveau or I don't know, some plantation owning woman like punishes by chaining him up and putting like a real bull's head on him and his spirit, blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? He's all right. He's just there. He's not really bad one way or the other so far from what I've seen, you know?
He's just a misunderstood Minotaur.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think encapsulates all of American Horror Story in one shot in season 4, okay? Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
So the big pyramid head-like character in season 4 is called Twisty the Clown. Actually, he's called Twisted Clown according to the call sheet in the script, but he's not ever named in the show, and fans call him Twisty, okay? Okay, so Twisty the Clown is, what is he? Alright, so he's like the monster, stalker, pyramid head kind of character of it, where he's not part of the main plot thread at all, he's just around, and he's killing people, but what I like about him is he's really well designed, he looks really cool, but you have no idea what his motivation or anything is, and he'll do things like, he'll kill somebody, but then he'll like play around, like he kidnaps 2 people and keeps them in his van, like in this cage kind of thing he has built. And then, like, one of them's a kid, and then, like, he'll reach in his bag and pull out a little toy robot, and the robot will walk, and he'll sort of imitate it. And then he'll, like, pull out a severed head. And you're like, but, like, it's weird and freaky, because you're like, is he trying to be a clown? Like, what is going on here? And it's perfect the way it is, because you have no idea.
Then they fall into the trap of explaining him.
Can I tell you how they explain him?
Please.
Okay. So they introduce a character named Edward Mordrake, who I like to call the backstory demon. They have a myth, 'cause it's freak show, so it's like kind of like a circus freak show type of deal is what it's about. The freaks like won't perform on Halloween. Because there's a story they have that if you perform on Halloween, this damned freak named Edward Mordrake, who has like a demon's face on the back of his head, will take you to hell, so they don't perform on Halloween. But, of course, on the show, someone rehearses on Halloween. Edward Mordrake goes to all the characters and wants to hear about their sins to decide whether or not to bring them to hell, to join his little freak show or something.
Did he talk to his lawyers first to see if the rehearsal thing counted?
I was wondering about that.
It's like, does that check out?
This would not be such a terrible idea if he didn't really go to, like 3 or 4 characters, because then it becomes like a really cheap way of getting each character's backstory. And like there's even more minor characters that like don't get a lot of screen time, and they get this montage version of a background story where it's just like, it's almost like they said, I wrote this but I couldn't fit it in, so I might as well put it in this part. All right, so just somehow, some way, Edward Mordrake finds the person he wants to take back, but then he's nearby Twisty somehow, so he goes over to Twisty, and we finally just get Twisty's backstory explained to us by him, and it's so dumb. So he's a brain damaged clown. His mom dropped him on his head when he was a baby. He's really good with kids. Some dwarves in the freak show make fun of him, call him a pedophile, and say the cops are coming after him. And because he's dumb, he just believes them and runs. He kind of freaks people out and stuff in a toy store because he like kind of is like in this dirty clown clothes. But he's still like a normal person, or you know what I mean? He's not like a monster or killer or anything yet, you know?
Sure.
He decides to kill himself by putting a shotgun in his mouth. Doesn't do that right, just kind of blows his face off. So then it turns out his motivation is basically he can't speak anymore, but he wants to be a clown and like make children happy, and he kills people because he just gets really mad at them.
So he's a clown.
Yeah. And then you start to think back on the things he did in the show, and you're like, that doesn't really fit, actually. Wait, then why did he kill that guy or something? And you're like, You're like, what the
Because he just wanted to make him laugh.
But it's like, this was so much better before you explained everything. Why couldn't you just leave it at you don't know what his deal is? You know? Let fans theorize. Let people do that stuff. I don't need to know. Like, you just ruined it. I especially don't need to know because you're not competent enough to tell me something satisfying. So just let it go. Fuck. I just hate it.
So this was season
4.
Season 4?
Yes, Twisty.
And you kept going after all this.
I quit right before the final episode of season 4. Then I just read a summary because that was just my limit.
But then you started watching season 5? That's the hotel one?
Season 5 is completely comic effect. It's so bad.
Why are you still watching it?
I don't know. My wife still watches it, so it's on, and I'll put it on. It's almost completely uninteresting. This one's called Hotel. Let me tell you about the stalker character from this one. I swear I'm not making up what I'm about to tell you, okay?
Is it a demon bellhop?
You got half of it right.
Demon?
He is, you wouldn't guess it, honestly.
Okay.
He's called the addiction demon. So what happens is, there's like
addiction demon?
Yes. There's like a junkie kind of character who goes to stay in the hotel. He's like doing heroin. He shoots up, gets on the bed.
Sounds like a real demon.
He looks a bit like Valtiel from Silent Hill 3, where he's like kind of weird, fleshy, sort of thin, kind of, you know? And, one of those deals. Or like an Archvile from Doom, that kind of deal. Except he walks in with a drill strap on.
What?
A dildo. A drill dildo.
They call it a dildo?
I call it that because you're like, what? And he comes in with a drill on his crotch, like a drill codpiece, you know, and like a cartoon conical drill. You know what I mean?
Does it look like an Acme device?
He rips off the guy's pants while he's high on the bed and, you know, butt and everything, and then he starts sodomizing him with the drill dildo.
Hey, haven't we all had a hotel experience like that one point or another?
But can I ask you something? What does that have to do with addiction? Like, how is that an ironic sort of punishment or murder or anything?
Addicted to butt stuff.
But, and then he's never really heard from again. Yeah, I think Kitty's, I think this person in chat has it right when they're like totally extreme with an X. It does smack of like, oh, this is going to be so talked about at the water cooler or
what
something.
Crazy shit can we do this season?
Yeah, and it's just, I can't fucking piece together why they did that. It's like, so addiction is a big part of the show. There's like a lot of recovering addicts and like main characters recovering alcoholic and all that stuff, you know. But again, the addiction demon.
They're really slamming the hotel industry, aren't they?
They really are.
Look at these fuckers going to hotels. Typical clientele right here.
But you know what, too? Like
Drildo demons and whatnot.
For all these characters who have addiction, the addiction demon only showed up that one time. So, I'm a bit lost as to...
Well, the addiction demon's not exactly reliable showing up to set on time.
Yeah, I guess not. And somebody in chat said, too, like, this place must have terrible Yelp reviews. That's, by the way, that's another thing that they do the Seth MacFarlane thing where they throw in, like, a modern sort of culture reference to kind of show, hey, we're still relevant type of thing. Like... Somebody disses this guy in front of his son. I forget it. It was some lame thing like I wouldn't want to have sex with you or something like that.
Is it the guy getting drilled out on the dead being like, this is worse than the last time I stayed at a hotel?
No, but like he gets insulted somehow and his son goes, "Ha, owned, Dad." You're like,
Ew.
I know. It's so bad.
Someone asks the producer's kid, like, what are you kids saying nowadays?
Does
this work? Okay. Write it in.
This season is a little more like about vampires, except they're not.
You haven't even mentioned vampires.
They're not really vampires per se. They live forever.
Do they drink the blood that comes out of the butthole after the dildo demon?
No, I keep trying to...
Because that would be a pretty edgy vampire.
I'm trying to impress this on you. The dildo thing was this one-off in the season. It just never came up again. Like, that's what's so baffling to me about it. Like, why was this in here, especially if you're never going to reference it again?
So vampires is the A storyline.
Yeah. Lady Gaga...
That's season 5, okay.
Lady Gaga is more or less Dracula.
Okay. Was she born that way?
No, so they do really what I like to call low-rent Interview with the Vampire. So, you've seen Interview with the Vampire?
Most of it, yeah.
So, you know, it's like a period piece going over, like, Louis, Brad Pitt's character, like, through the years, you know, and all that stuff. And I think it's pretty well done, honestly. This is a much crappier version where her first, like, references, she's at a disco. And it's like, you know, like, Interview with the Vampire went back to, like, 18th century New Orleans, and American Horror's version's like, oh, I'll just go to the 70s, whatever. And then they have her meet Bernie Madoff in another flashback. And, like, she got some money from the Bernie
Madoff?
Yes, she got money from the Madoff scheme.
It's kind of a dated reference by now, isn't it?
Yeah, but remember, it's like it's like they're going through her history, like, because it's low-rent American Interview with the Vampire, you know? And then, and I didn't even tell you this other plot thread that I have to tell you about, too. You ever seen the movie Seven?
Yeah.
You know how there's a killer around in that, killing people based on the Seven Sins?
There's a version of that here, too?
He's called the Ten Commandments Killer.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. It's
really... Thou shalt not kill. Well, now you're dead.
I know.
I'm a hypocrite. Sorry.
I know, it's right there. It totally doesn't work. But the first murder is, you know, he kills two adulterers, right? And he, like, kind of, I don't know how he set this up, but they're both naked. The woman's kind of, like, straddling him, you know, but, like, dead. She's, like, impaled by, like, a spear. The guy is still alive. He's been given a male potency drug, so he's, like, still, like, in her, you know. And also, I guess he's, like, super glued to her, is what the cop says, or whatever, who's the main character. But also, the guy's eyes and tongue were cut out, and it kind of hit me like, wait, that didn't have anything to do with adultery. Like,
I was gonna say, you have a lot of variance in how the punishments fit the crime based on the commandments. It's like, oh, you didn't respect your parents versus you killed a guy.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait for, like, I want to see...
Took the Lord's name in vain? You're dead.
They did that one.
Oh, okay.
That was a televangelist. They killed him on an altar. He killed him on an altar, and his mouth is full of silver coins that are, like, spilling out of his chest. I guess like Judas, which is like...
He's like a video game enemy.
Yeah, but, like, he's also been eviscerated, and his, like, guts are coming out. I don't really know that connection. And
what does this have to do with hotels?
That is another really good question. The lead cop is staying at the hotel. I remember. The Ten Commandments killer is calling him and taunting him and tells him to come to the hotel. And I don't remember.
Most of the Ten Commandments are broken at hotels.
Well, that's true. What else is there? There's so much.
The Ten Commandment Killer. Is he really called that?
He really is. I swear to you, he is.
The Ten Commandment Killer.
And the show intro, it is the worst. The intros are usually great. Hotels is ridiculous, but they have these, like, neon signs of the commandments that flash between the credits. Because I was wondering why they did that, and I was even like, okay, that could be interesting. The Ten Commandments Killer.
That'd be a good reboot of the Bible instead of having them etched in tablets, neon signs. Gotta modernize it for the millennials, yeah.
I know. I just know with this show, they're not gonna go through all 10. You know, because I'm dying to see some of them. Like, how do you remember the Sabbath and all that shit? But
so how many of the commandments have been covered?
I think.
And how many episodes in are you?
I think it's 5 or 6 episodes, 5 episodes in, and wait, there's more from the season I gotta tell you about. I think it's 3 have been covered in about 5 episodes. and I think it's 13 total. I don't think I don't think so. Oh wait, okay, and then there's a serial killer dinner. Oh, I gotta tell you about this.
What?
So wait, this is awesome. So I'm watching this with my wife, so like I said, the main character is this cop who's going after the 10 Commandments killer, right? And he's recovering.
Sorry, the name. I can't get past the name.
He's like kind of having a breakdown because all this weird shit's happening in the hotel.
Is that a self-imposed? Is that a name that the killer put on himself, or is it like the cops putting that on the killer to make fun of him a little bit?
I don't know, honestly. I really don't know. Because if I were the cops, I'd call it Knockoff 7 Killer, personally. But
so is the serial killer dinner, is it like a support group kind of environment, or is it like a secret society meeting sort of thing?
let me explain. So they usually have a Halloween episode every season, you know? Oh, but this one's a little different. This one's Devil's Night, October 30th, you know? Switch it up a little. All right.
All Hallows Eve.
Yeah. So the guy who made the hotel, this guy James March, who's Kit, by the way, with like a mustache and talking like a 20s character, but he's a serial killer, and he created the hotel to be the perfect place for murder.
I killed 5 guys this week. That's a scoop, guys.
But you know, too, they try to be funny, and some things just don't work. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, one of the vampire guys finds the ghost of March, the guy March, who's around, and he's like, man, I love what you do. You just kill everybody. He's like, how did you discover about me? And he goes, I Googled you. And he goes, that sounds obscene. And it's like, I get it, because a guy from the 20s wouldn't know Google. But then later, the ghost guy kills a hotel guest in front of another murderous ghost and says like, a couple from out of town. Marriott was full. And it's like, wait, you know what a Marriott is? And you know that it was full? Like, how would you do that without the internet?
I started Googling things too.
But that happened before the Google thing, so damn it. I just learned about Yelp as well. Yes, he's supposed to be like H.H. Holmes, right, yeah. That's exactly right. Sordid Sentinel. Anyway, alright, so wait, I'm sorry, the serial killer dinner. Okay, so, the cop who's investigating the 10 Commandments killer, right, recovering alcoholic, is having kind of a breakdown.
He invites a bunch of serial killers over for dinner.
He's having a breakdown, has some drinks, because he's like, you know, there's all weird shit happening in the hotel, okay.
Mm-hmm.
A woman walks up to him at the bar. They start talking. She introduces herself. I don't remember the name, as like Amanda Weber, I think, or Weemis, maybe. And my wife was like, oh my God, I don't believe they're doing this. And I'm like, what? Who's she? So do you remember the movie Monster with Charlize Theron?
I never saw it, but I know of it.
And you know it's based on a real serial killer?
I did not know that.
It is. It's like not a documentary, but it's like,
so the 10 Commandments killer was real.
Yeah. No, no, but like, so, oh God, sorry. There's like so much to cover. Okay.
And this is only 5 episodes in so far. The season sounds kind of awesome.
He meets a real life, like this, she's a serial killer in real life, mind you. And he meets her at a bar and shit, you know? And then, so, she tries to like kill him, but he like fights her off and stuff. And then he gets an invite from March to go to dinner in his penthouse suite. And he goes up there and he has some absinthe. And then he gets handcuffed to his chair. And in walks in, but he's dressed all in black with a mask because nobody found him. And he leaves at one point, basically. So he's having dinner with all these serial killers. And he's a cop. He's trying to get out of it. Thank you, Amanda Weiner, yes. And it's like this, it's just totally fucking weird, because it's like, you're contending these real life serial killers, they're like ghosts, go to this hotel for like a yearly dinner on the day before Halloween. Are we really doing this?
Well, it's like the PAX of murder.
It is, it absolutely is. So, yes, this is still all the hotel with the vampire thing.
How many different storylines are there in this season?
Not as many as Asylum, but quite a damn few.
Sounds like a mess.
Well, Asylum was kind of a weird freaking mess too, because you had like, you know, the alien abductions and the Nazi doctor and the demon. Oh, and then that Santa.
I completely forgot about the alien abduction until you brought it up again. It's like, oh yeah, that happened.
Yeah, remember? And then they go to kill the one guy to get the aliens to come back to him and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah. And the Nazi doctor came up with it, you know, and Oh, God. And there's more, though. There was more to that season, if you remember, too, besides also Bloody Face and all that. And
There was a lot going on.
it was, yeah. So Hotel really packs it in. But the problem is, again, it's not very interesting. I mean, it is, but not like in any sort of scary way.
You make it sound worth watching in a head-scratching kind of way.
It is weird. Like, the first two victims are these two Swedish girls who are visiting California, you know? And they stay at the hotel, and then, like, you know, some guy their bed is sewn up, the mattress, you know, and they start undoing it, and then there's a guy in there, you know, like, who comes out at them, and they run down to the desk, and Kathy Bates is, like, the front desk person, you know, and, she's been on the show since season 3, and, she's, like, you know, she charges them for everything, kind of like the hotel front desk manager from hell, you know what I mean?
The Spirit Airlines of hotel front desk people.
Yeah, and I want you to keep in mind these two Swedish girls, right? Go to this hotel. A fucking dude comes out of a sewn-up mattress in their room. They go down to the front desk to tell her about it, and she's like, well, call the cops. They're on their way. And Kathy Bates is like, meanwhile, you can stay in this room. And she gives them, like, a suite. And they're like, we don't want to stay here, which is totally normal. And she's like, well, you know, if you...
That's very reasonable.
Yeah, but she's like, well, if you leave the premises, the police will detain you. So your choice. So they decide to stay there. Huh? And it's like, yo, are you...
Why would they be detained?
Well, she's lying to them. I mean, Kathy Bates is lying to them to get them to stay. And
Why would they believe her, though?
That's exactly it! And you know what? You know, even if you were going to be arrested, a fucking monster just came out of your bed in this hotel. Maybe that's not the worst.
I think the facts are on your side in this case.
Or maybe it's not the worst of the two options. It's so fucking weird. And the vampires. And, also, there's vampire kids and Lady Gaga has
kids?
Yeah, Lady Gaga has a bunch of vampire kids, like kids she made into vampires, and they're not real vampires. Like, they can walk out in daylight and anything kills them. Like, you don't need like a wooden stake or garlic or any shit like that. You know, like you could just shoot one and it'd be dead. It's just the immortality and the need to drink blood.
You can show them American Horror Story Asylum; they'll die.
Right.
Things that would end a normal person. Yeah.
Yeah. I would maybe contend. No, I still say Freak Show had the best chance of being good. Asylum had a chance to be good, you know?
So none of the seasons, you've seen pretty much all of them, you would say none of them are good.
No. I mean, season 1 really starts the strongest, you know? Season 1, like...
Yeah,
you watch it and you're like, hey, this is pretty good. And then just, like...
It's a new thing. It's kind of hasn't really been done before this way on TV that I can think of.
Yeah.
But then, yeah.
And I really, the intros are amazing. Like, if you're listening to this or whatever, watch the intro to American Horror Story Freak Show. It is really fucking good. Way better than the rest of the show. That's like the thing that kills me about it is the art direction's really good. The photography is great. The music and the audio is like superb. Like, it has all the makings.
Production design.
Yeah, everything in it is, like, set up to be this amazing horror TV show, and then the writing just fucking falls apart.
But then the script gets introduced into it.
Yes! You even have, like Kathy Bates is a good fucking actress, you know?
Yeah.
They had Michael Chick.
Doesn't even Lady Gaga do a pretty good job?
She's weird. So, she, like, sometimes she, like, she has, like, a good look about her in it, because she looks kind of, like, creepy in some scenes, and... The problem is she's playing this kind of the Countess, they call her. So she's kind of like this Dracula character, you know? But so she talks to people very deadpan, like, and sometimes that can be creepy. Like, at one point, Kathy Bates is trying to hide something from her. So she leans in like, you smell different. Is everything all right? And you're like, oh shit. But then sometimes she'll talk to somebody in that same deadpan voice and it sounds like really bad acting. You know? Like there's like no emote or anything. So it doesn't work, you know? Or I should say sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So I don't blame Lady...
She just keeps putting on a poker face.
I don't blame Lady Gaga, is what I'm getting at for that. You know what I mean?
I understand, yeah.
And there's one part, too, where they, again, do the interview with the vampire thing and explain her past, and she's like a 1920s actress, and for whatever reason, she looks exactly like a 1920s actress. Like, I don't know if it was makeup, wardrobe, whatever, but that's, like, super convincing, as weird as that sounds, you know? She just has like the right look about her, and everything is like perfect for that. So it's such an odd show. Oh God, there was more too. What was it? And then, yeah, I don't know. There's so much more, even to this season. God damn. How long have we been talking about American Horror Story? 47 minutes!
That's pretty much filled up the entire podcast time.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry, but I had to rant about the show, God damn it. Freak Show was so close to being good, too.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
With Freak Show, is it like season 1 starts out kind of promising and then falls apart, or is it always kind of like not quite there?
This Freak Show's like the closest to good. You know what I mean? Like it definitely keeps your interest. There's some stuff about it that just doesn't work. Well, you know what the problem is too? There's different writers for every episode, and you can kind of tell because like things don't quite work and some things don't like kind of conflict with other. I'll give you an example, right? There's Siamese twins, like this two-headed woman more or less, who's like a main character on the show in Freak Show. There's a really, really haunting, creepy thing where like this guy is basically trying to collect the freaks and sell their bodies to like a museum, basically. He's trying to make money off of them, right? By killing them and selling their corpses. He manages to...
Typical. Yep.
Yeah, and he pretends he's like a Hollywood guy. So there's this episode where he has them out on a picnic and he has these poison cupcakes and like one of them eats it. And then they show later like they're in a tent and the other one's like one of the heads is like really gaunt and dying. And the other one's like kind of freaking out and she can't get up, you know, because she's like technically poisoned because the other one she's like freaking out like, oh my God, I can't hear anymore. You have to take us to a hospital. And he's like, cupcake. And it's really creepy and cruel and wrong and all that shit, you know? And even at the beginning of the episode, they like kind of like they show her body in like formaldehyde. So you're like, oh my God, how did, you know, basically in this episode, he kills this character, you know? And then, and then later in the episode, they show the scene again with the picnic where he's like cupcake and they're like, no, we have to watch our wait for Hollywood. And I'm like, wait, what? Hmm? And then it turns out like 2/3 of the episode was like a what if kind of thing. Like it just didn't happen. Okay. Like they had a really creepy idea, but they couldn't pull it off because it was a main character and they didn't want to kill her off. So they just do 2/3 of like a fantasy episode.
They pull the "It's all a dream" thing?
They really do. They don't come out and say it's all a dream. But like I was kind of like in bed watching it, you know, and I was like, did I like fall asleep and miss something? What's going on here? So I watched it again the next night and I'm like, what? Like he killed her. But then now they're redoing the scene later? Like, what is this? It's so bad. And there's another thing that pisses me off about season 4.
Go on.
This
is your platform.
Okay. There's like, so the Freak Show runs afoul of the police. It takes place in Jupiter, Florida, right?
Okay.
Because the Siamese twin, like, kills someone. She's sort of a suspect. They have her there. This cop comes in. He's kind of a dick. And he's going to take her in, and he's being an asshole, and one of the other freaks stabs him, so they hide his body and all this stuff, right?
Of course.
So the police department's kind of corrupt and stuff. So what they do is, there's a character, so to speak, named Meep, and he's like a carnival geek. Do you know what that is? They like bite the heads off chickens and stuff like that.
Oh, the Ozzy Osbournes, yes.
Yeah. No, like it's like a thing, you know? So, anyway, he's a little almost cartoony guy. He's like got feathers. He's kind of gaunt, you know, and hunched over. And all he says is meep, meep. That's his whole thing, right? So this is like episode 1, episode 2. The cops decide to take
the Roadrunner,
or what? Yeah, the Roadrunner. No, he's like a guy, right? But that's like he's almost like comic relief, you know. And anyway, so I'd say about episode 2, 3, or whatever, the cops decide to take revenge on Meep because. It's I'm skipping over like 1 or 2 plot details here, but more or less they take him in, right? And they put him in a cell, and the inmates are kind of menacing him, you know? And he just like kind of backs into a corner and says, Meep! So then at the end of the episode, the cops come up and they dump Meep's body in front of the Freak Show. And every character is like, especially the main character, one of the main characters is like, I can't believe Meep died. I feel so responsible. Oh, poor fucking Meep. And they keep going over how important Meep is to them. Like he's this major fucking character. And it's like, this is a cartoon relief character who has had no dialogue or interaction with any other character and has only been in the background biting chicken heads. And I'm supposed to care about this? And they keep bringing it up.
Maybe focus testing revealed he was a crowd favorite.
Or like, I don't know what. Like, he's not even a particularly endearing comic character. Like, you're just like, yeah, that's that guy. And yeah. Yes, Shadow Ziggy, this is a same show, different season. This is season 4, the circus episode. Freak Show.
No, we've been talking about Walking Dead for the past 30 minutes at this point.
What's interesting about Freak Show, though, too, is the Freak Show actually becomes almost the least interesting part of the whole thing, in a way. Like, there's like Twisty the Clown
in the season called Freak Show.
Yes, like there's Twisty the Clown, who's very who's like a really cool like villain thing, even though they ruined that like 5 episodes in. There's a guy named Dandy, and it's almost like a parody of American Horror. American Psycho. It seems like they're just ripping off horror movies and thrillers now that I think about it. But like, no, it is funny, and it is played funny because he's like this guy with this little weird hairdo who lives with his mother. And he's like, they're like rich and stuff. And she's like, oh, Dandy, why don't you we'll go to the Freak Show and get a gun. Like, I don't want to wear a Halloween costume, mother, you know? But at one point he wants to become a serial killer. And he has those like Patrick Bateman inner monologues, but they're really stupid. Like, you know, like my arms will hold them down as I murder them. My legs will pump as I chase them. I will be the U.S. Steel of murder. And like... But I think that is actually supposed to be funny, you know? And it works there, and you're interested in Dandy, but then they don't do anything with him for 3 episodes, and then like, you're kind of starting to suspect that he's supposed to be actually scary at some point. It's just really weird. So I didn't mind Dandy as much. In fact, I like Dandy better than any other character on the show, but I don't know.
Fine and dandy. Yeah.
Suzuka Lancelot says it's hard to believe you're not.
What does the U.S. Steel of murder mean?
Because, you know, I guess it takes place in the 60s. U.S. Steel is, you know, really good. I don't know. I mean, they were good at steel.
My profits are going to be up with murder.
Coven's kind of boring. I don't really have much to say about Coven. I can't get through it, you know? It's fucked Harry Potter. It really is.
But boring.
You know, they're witches. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just not particularly interesting to me for some reason. Like, it's in New Orleans, and there's like kind of like a divide between like the witches and like the voodoo kind of, you know what I mean? And there's like racial stuff going on there, but it's like it's just not great. And they resurrect Kathy, or I forget if Kathy Bates is immortal or whatever, but she was like this horrible slave owner in the 18th century, but she's still alive, and they make her the maid. And I don't know why, though, anyone would. You know, like, why would you just keep this random horrible woman, like, alive? And because you're not, like, torturing her or anything. Like, you made her a maid. It's not like that. The punishment doesn't quite fit the crime there, so I don't know. I just don't know, you know? It's again, it's one of those things, like, you know, it has elements, like, there's potential, like, there's, like, interesting things that, like, peek their way out, but then they never go anywhere. God, I love it. I love the 10 Commandments. No, I don't love it.
What an American Horror Story style twist.
And they had Ghost Beetlejuice Christmas. I'll never get over that as long as I live.
And that was season 1.
That was season 1. What did you... yeah, you told me what you thought of that, right?
I saw seasons 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then I gave up.
Did you finish season 2?
I think I did. But I was kind of watching it more in the background at the end and wasn't absorbing as much of what was happening.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, and then they have the son... Oh, remember they had... I forgot about this. They had the son of Bloody Face, who becomes Bloody Face.
Oh, yeah. That's...
Right.
That was something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It left a big impression on me.
I mean, yeah, that's the problem. Like, even the wild...
That sure was a plot point. Yep.
It's like they introduce these wild, wacky plot points, and then they don't really do a whole lot with them. So you're kind of like, you know.
Was this not edgy and new? Well, see you season 3.
They really do, by the way. Thank you for reminding me. They really do try to seem very edgy, because one of the characters on Hotel is also, she's this What do you call a child doctor?
A pediatrician.
I was about to say podiatrist, and I knew that wasn't right. Yes, pediatrician, thank you.
That's a foot doctor.
Right. No, but like, you know, this one kid's about to like die you know, and it turns out it's because the mother didn't vaccinate her kid, you know? And now the kid's like gonna die and stuff, and she has to save him by making him a vampire and all that. But like so it's kind of like it's almost like some writer on the show is like, haha, take that, anti-vaxxers. And it's like, come on. Like, you know, like, are you really pandering to me with this now? It's just like, it's like, no, you know what it is? Yeah, because like somebody, Mallory in chat said, oh no, it's social statement. But you know what it is? It's like, it's all these awkward social statements. And they do it like every season, where they're just kind of like, hey, while we're here, you know, and it's like, what are you doing here? Like, you know?
There's 10 Commandments killers on the loose. Let's talk about gay marriage for a bit.
No, you're exactly right. That's exactly what they do, you know? Like, it's like, hey, by the way, we're really socially aware. And it's like, that doesn't fit with the story you're telling, though. Like, it's totally possible to have a story that does that, but you're not doing it. Oh, by the way, here's this clown's backstory. Like, what the fuck? Oh, shit. Marily? Sorry about that. Oh, God.
So, all in all, you'd recommend watching?
No, I wouldn't. I really would like, I was almost considering doing like rewatching every episode and doing like a blog or something about it, because it isn't worth watching.
I think you could just transcribe this and you're done.
It's just like, you watch it and then like some of it is like, hey, this is actually pretty good. And then they say something that's like, I don't know, like weird, that sticks out. Remember when in season 1 when they talked about having sex just out of nowhere? The husband and the wife are arguing.
Vaguely.
They're arguing about stuff because he like cheated on her and all that. And then he goes, and we haven't had sex in a long time. And she just stops and he's like, do you remember, Vivian? It was angry. It was wild. Frankly, it was a little weird. And you're kind of sitting there like, who talks like this? But American Horror Story does.
Married people. Don't.
I'm done. Anyway.
So I think that's our podcast.
I guess it is. I'm sorry. I just talked about American Horror the whole time.
No, it's good.
We had other topics.
We know where your priorities are.
And I'm gonna be watching is the amazing thing. I am. I'm
not giving up on it.
No.
What are they gonna do with season 6? Has it been announced?
I don't know. Where the hell can they even go? Arctic Research Station?
YouTube.
They probably will.
The internet.
I bet you anything they'll do something where they have like, oh, it's a YouTube superstar. Let's kill him. They did it with, I forgot about this too. In Hotel, there were 2 hipsters that checked in to the hotel that are like caricatures of hipsters. And they're just
like really exaggerated hipsters?
Oh, like super. Like they walk up to the hotel desk like, do you have a special rate for influencers? You know?
Wow.
Like social media influencers? Yeah, we're very big on Twitter. Yeah, we are. And it's like, I'll take the artisan cheese plate with the pate. And like, I don't think we have that. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. So, and then Kathy Bates ends up killing them with a corkscrew, and she says something like, "You just think the whole world revolves around you." And it's like, yeah, take that, hipsters. You know, I don't know. Sorry. I keep thinking of new things that like fuck the shit out of me. Anyway. So that's Retsutalk episode 78.
It's a binge American Horror Story, everybody. Even if you're not American.
No, absolutely.
What makes these American, by the way? Just they're set in America?
Yeah, that is exactly it.
That
is all it. Yeah. They are set in America. And then they do things to like tie the seasons together, which gets totally weird because they reuse actors as different characters, but all right, whatever. I'm done. I promise.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.